Expectations in Berkeley are higher than they've ever been under Justin Wilcox. But can the Golden Bears rise to the occasion? Welcome back to the Gridiron Expert, the best kept secret in all of college football. Today bringing you our 2020 California Golden Bears college football predictions. As always, make sure to continue to like, comment, subscribe, and share our videos. And also check out everything down in the description below for some exclusive content on our website, thegridironexpert.com, and some more exclusive content on our social media pages over on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. So guys, let me tell you, I love this California team going into 2020. They have very high expectations, and I believe they can meet those expectations going into this season. California started 2019 4-0 last year. They beat Washington on a game-winning field goal, the reigning North champs. They beat Ole Miss on the road, and then they lost 4 straight games. They were very streaky. They won 4, they lost 4, they won 1, they lost 1. They ended the season on a 3-game winning streak, including a win over Illinois in their bowl game to finish at 8-5. And now I believe they can take an even bigger step forward this year, but it's all going to come down to their quarterback in Chase Garbers. California returns 10 starters on the offensive side of the ball, guys. And if you know anything about California football, you know they've kind of struggled offensively under Justin Wilcox. His forte is the defensive side of the ball, and that's why they've been able to contend so well. But if they can take a step forward offensively, they could be a very special team. And Garbers, when he is at quarterback, when he is under center for California, he is 13-2. He is 13-2 as a starter, and he went 7-0 last year as starter for California, as long as he played a little over a half. He did miss 4 games last year. So Garbers is the key. He completed over 66% of his passes in the final 3 games of last season. So he's very accurate, he's precise, he's got the talent around him, he's got a great running back alongside him in Christopher Brown, who rushed for over 900 yards and 8 touchdowns last year. So can California take a step forward offensively after averaging just 21.2 points per game and ranking 117th in the country in total offense? When you look at their defense, we know that's the strength. We don't have to worry about it too much. Sure, they lose their star linebacker in Evan Weaver, the undisputed leader of that entire California team last year. But they only allowed 21.9 points per game. They returned Luke Beckett along that defensive line, a very strong defensive line, one that can be one of the best in the Pac-12. They returned Cameron Good at linebacker. He had 9.5 sacks last year, led the team. And then you've got Cameron Bynum and Elijah Hicks in the secondary. And sure, they lose a few key pieces within that secondary, but they're still going to be one of the better ones within the conference. So this California team, guys, 18 returning starters. They're one of the most experienced teams in the Pac-12 this season. Can they take advantage of that talent? Can they challenge Oregon in the North? Could they capture maybe yet another 8 or 9 win season in 2020? We take a look at their schedule here, guys, and remember, as of this filming, we know that the Pac-12 has canceled non-conference games, but we're going to include them in our final prediction anyways. We've done that with every other Power 5 team. We believe that it is only fair. But we do know that the Pac-12 will begin a conference-only slate beginning in the middle of September. So kind of take that with a grain of salt here. If you want to subtract the wins or the losses within the non-conference at the end of this prediction, you'll get what we really believe California will go, because it will only be their conference record. So we take a look at their schedule. We do have them going 3-0 in their non-conference games. Easy wins over UNLV and Cal Poly. And then, of course, a Cheez-It Bowl rematch against TCU in Week 2. And that would have been a fantastic matchup, guys, considering how well Gary Patterson has recruited as of late, considering how exciting but yet terrible that Cheez-It Bowl was just a few years ago. But with the game being out in California, we believe the Golden Bears would have taken care of business against the Horned Frogs out of the Big 12. So they would have started 3-0 in our eyes. Of course, that will be reflected here at the end. But they get that bye week and they take on Utah for their first legit game, their first conference game. And California lost to Utah last year 35-0. They fell to the Utes 35 points. They were shut out. It kind of showed their offensive struggles last year, but it also showed how great Utah's defense was last year. A Utah team that finished second nationally in terms of total defense. A Utah team that was really one win away from making the college football playoff. But now Utah, I think, is going to take a major step back. They lose their quarterback in Tyler Huntley. They lose their running back in Zach Moss. They lose 3 of their top 5 pass catchers from last year and only return 2 starters on that defensive side of the ball. We know Kyle Whittingham usually does a great job of reloading, not necessarily rebuilding, but you know that Utah's not going to be a double-digit win team this year. They probably are not going to be able to win the Pac-12 South and contend for a playoff spot this year. And so with the game at home and with Utah maybe trying to piece together some things, at least this early on in the season, I think California opens up Pac-12 play with a win. They are 1-0 in conference play, and by our non-conference games, they are 4-0. They then take on Washington State on the road. They defeated the Cougars 33-20 last year. And I think that showed how great this defense was last year for Cal, considering how great Washington State's offense was. Sure, the Cougars did go 6-7 under Mike Leach, who is now gone to Mississippi State, but the Cougars did have the number 1 ranked passing offense in the country and the 7th ranked offense when it came to total offense, everything combined. The air raid is gone, the Pirate and Mike Leach is gone, and we know that Nick Rolovich is coming in from Hawaii to kind of run a similar type of offense, a run-and-shoot offense in Pullman. But you can't help but wonder, how well will he do in 2020? He's got quarterback questions. Is it going to be Cameron Cooper or is it going to be Jaden DeLora? Will the defense do better under Rolovich than they did under Mike Leach? So a lot of questions surrounding the Cougars this year. And even though the game is in Pullman, I do think California goes on the road and takes care of business. They won last year at home, shutting down that air raid offense. And an offense I think could see some struggles this year developing under a new system. I think California's defense plays just about as well as they did last year, and they get their second conference win. We believe they take their first conference loss, though, on the road against USC. This is where their defense, I think, struggles mightily. And I think had Mike Leach remained at Washington State, this would have been a great tune-up game. You're facing a very potent passing attack in Washington State before you take on another great passing attack in USC. That's obviously not the case this year. But this is a USC team, guys, that beat California 41-17 in 2019, and now returns 18 starters as well, including 10 on defense, with a new defensive coordinator in Todd Orlando. And they are still led by Graham Harrell as their offensive coordinator, running an air raid offense with Keaton Slovis, his top wide receivers, Amon-Ra St. Brown and Tyler Vaughns, and the 6th ranked passing offense from 2019. The game is at the Coliseum. This is a USC team that I believe could win 9 or 10 games in 2020, maybe enough to save Clay Helton's job, and California does take their first loss on the road this year. USC, they're overhyped every year, but I think this is a year that they actually live up to their expectations. They return home, guys, to take on Oregon. Obviously, the favorite in the Pac-12 North, the favorite in the Pac-12 in general. This is an Oregon team that is, in fact, a college football playoff contender, guys, and I think they actually benefit mightily from their non-conference games being canceled, considering they had a game against North Dakota State and Ohio State to kick off the season. To Oregon, I think their playoff chances improved with the cancellation of non-conference games, but will they still be able to get into the playoff? Will their playoff hopes be dashed with a loss to California? Because we have the Golden Bears winning this game against the Ducks. Now, I think a lot of people will look at that and they'll say, that's ridiculous. How can you pick California to beat Oregon? And here's how. Last year, we know Oregon was a great team. Like Utah, they were 1 win away from making the college football playoff. They don't lose to Arizona State, they win. They go because they beat Utah in the Pac-12 championship game. But last year in Eugene, California went in there with a backup quarterback in Devin Modster and only lost to Oregon 17-7. That was with Justin Herbert. That was still with C.J. Verdell. That was still with a very good defense. And they only lost by 10 points and actually were leading Oregon with under 2 minutes remaining in the third quarter. Oregon didn't take their first lead of the game until 1:38 remaining in the third quarter. So to me, that showed how great that California team was. It showed how strong their defense was, and they were able to hold their own with a backup QB. Keep in mind, Modster is still with California, which means they have valuable experience in him if Garbers does go down. But I believe Garbers stays healthy, and if he is healthy, the offense improves drastically. And while Oregon will have one of the best defenses in the Pac-12, one of the best defenses in the country, I think they do slip up here in Berkeley. The defense holds their own. It's a low-scoring game just like it was last year, but as long as Garbers is healthy, they take advantage of the opportunity and get a signature win under Justin Wilcox. They pull off a major upset. Will it be enough to keep Oregon and maybe the Pac-12 as a whole out of the playoff this year? So California, they're riding high, guys. They've only got one loss. If you count our non-conference games, they are 6-1 going into their final stretch of the season. 6-1, guys. We're talking potentially top 10 here, especially with that win over Oregon. And I think riding high off of an Oregon win, one of the biggest upsets of the season potentially, the Golden Bears fall to the other Oregon team in Oregon State. And I'm sure this will spark a lot of controversy as well. They'll think that's ridiculous. There's no way that's going to happen. No way they're going to beat Oregon but lose to Oregon State. And here's why, again, I think the Beavers take down the Golden Bears. First off, they did it last year. They won 21-17. The Beavers went 5-7. That was their best record since 2014. Oregon State themselves is coming off a bye week coming into this game. It's another thing here. And while I do lose their star quarterback in Jake Luton, they do return Jamar Jefferson at running back, who's going to lead this team, and their defense, especially in the secondary, is very, very strong. Jonathan Smith is turning this team around to the point that they could get to a bowl game for the first time since 2013 in 2020. He's doing a fantastic job with the Beavers here, guys. And I think with a very strong defense on the road, teams usually after a very big upset tend to have a little bit of a letdown game. Maybe they overlook Oregon State. And I think the Beavers and Jonathan Smith get themselves a signature victory and beat California for the second year in a row. They then return home, guys, to take on Washington, and they defeat the Huskies. So they beat maybe the top two teams in the North, or at least two of the top three teams in the North, because I consider California to be in that category as a top three team within the division. They defeat the Huskies here. They did it last year. They beat Washington 20-19, and that was a better Washington team in 2019 than they're going to have this year. And keep in mind, that was also on the road. Chris Peterson is gone. Jimmy Lake is the new man in charge for the Huskies. They lose Salvin Ahmed at running back. They lose Jacob Eason at quarterback. They lose 3 of their top 5 pass catchers from 2019. Washington's going to have to rely on their defense, and they're going to have to pray that Jacob Sermon really steps forward, takes charge of this offense to try to get them back to the postseason. Washington's still a solid team. They're not going to fall off the rails. I think Jimmy Lake keeps them in contention, but not enough to come on the road against Cal, a team they have really struggled mightily against over the past few seasons. So they beat Washington and fall to Arizona State. So I know it kind of feels like a pattern here. After the USC loss, they're kind of just alternating wins and losses. Loss, win, loss, win, loss. And they have them falling to the Sun Devils of Arizona State. Last year, Arizona State came in to Berkeley, came into California, and won 24-17. That was California's first loss of the season. Thing was, that was also without Chase Garbers. Devin Modster had to play the majority of that game. I think if Chase Garbers is healthy, he plays the entire game. I think California beats Arizona State. But this Arizona State team, like California, like a handful of other teams within the Pac-12, is improving under Herm Edwards. They have one of the best young quarterbacks in the country in Jaden Daniels. He's the real deal, guys. A dangerous dual-threat quarterback who, by next year, might be the best quarterback in the Pac-12. And you look at this year, he's back. He's got a lot of young talent surrounding him. The defense returned 7. They're going to take a step forward. And again, the desert is a very difficult place to play. Just ask Oregon, whose playoff hopes ended last year at Arizona State. So I think Herm Edwards and his squad get a big win over California, get a back-to-back wins over California. Cal drops that game but concludes the season with back-to-back wins over Stanford and UCLA. Both of those coming at home, and I think that greatly benefits the Golden Bears here. They snapped their 9-game losing streak to Stanford last year, defeating the Cardinal 24-20. And while Stanford was hit with tons of injuries, while they did go 4-8, I just don't think they're going to drastically improve in 2020. Maybe enough to get to the postseason. David Shaw is still one of the best coaches within the Pac-12. But I just don't know if the talent's there, guys. This is not a Stanford team that's going to be contending for New Year's Six bowl games, that's going to be contending for playoff spots or a Pac-12 title like we've seen in years past. They're still trying to work their way back up since they've kind of fallen off a little bit. So Stanford, talent's there to get back to the postseason, not enough to beat California off a bye week. And the same goes for UCLA, guys. I don't know why they haven't been able to succeed under Chip Kelly. Everybody thought that UCLA would be contending for Pac-12 titles by now because Chip Kelly did so well with Oregon. And that has not been the case. California beat the Bruins by 10 last year, 28-18. UCLA's defense finished 113th in the country last year. So while Dorian Thompson-Robinson could give California's defense some struggles there, dangerous dual threat quarterback, UCLA's defense is going to be their downfall in this game, and California takes care of business. So after all of that, if you include the non-conference games, we have California, guys, going 9-3. 9-3 for the Golden Bears in year 4 under Justin Wilcox. And if you don't want to count those non-conference games, because obviously they will not be played, we would have California going 6-3 within the Pac-12. Maybe 7-3 if the Pac-12 does in fact play a 10-game conference slate. 7-3 would be great enough and probably good enough to finish second in the Pac-12 North. That would be a fantastic season for Justin Wilcox. They would go to a very good bowl game. And while you look at this, you say, all right, 6 or 7 wins within conference, they're trying to capture a 7 or 8 win season. We know deep down they would be maybe capturing a 10-win season. Expectations are high in Berkeley this year. California rises to the occasion. They meet them, and I think they continue in years to come to head in an upward trajectory, and soon enough will capture a Pac-12 North title. So guys, thank you so much for watching us here at The Gridiron Expert on YouTube. Make sure to continue to like, comment, subscribe, share our videos as well. Check out everything down in the description below. Exclusive content on our website, thegridironexpert.com. Exclusive content on our social media pages over on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. And once again, guys, thank you so much for watching, and we will see you next time right here on The Gridiron Expert.